Alright, so I watched Black Panther recently. I was interested in watching it after watching Captain Marvel because I thought Captain Marvel was that bad. There was like no way Black Panther could be that bad. So I watched Black Panther and it really isn't that bad compared to Captain Marvel. It still has a lot of the MCU problems, like it doesn't take itself that seriously at all. None of the characters are really believable. I don't really feel a connection to many of the characters, much like every other MCU movie for me. But there was some good moments in Black Panther, and I would say probably the best stuff from the movie is like characters like Killmonger, because even though they made his character just like an angry black guy, like that's really all he is. Like at least he has some kind of story arc, At least he has a story arc in the movie. Unlike Black Panther, who really has not much of a story arc at all. He goes from a naive ruler to a ruler that is slightly more aware. That's like his whole arc. He finds out that his father, who was a liar and stuff like that. And that's, Black Panther's full arc in the movie. It's not really much to get your teeth into. But Killmonger is a little bit different. You see his dad die at the beginning of the movie. They open the movie with Killmonger's backstory, really, which is a cool approach. Of course, when you're watching the movie at the beginning, you don't know that, that's Killmonger, that's his dad. You don't know that till, later in the film. So you don't really know what the fuck's going on at the beginning. It's a little confusing, but, it all makes sense in the end. But what I think is the best part of the movie is Andy Serkis's character. Even though I can't remember the guy's name, the villain's name, he looked like he was having the most fun in this movie. Like, he looked like he was having a blast. And his character was infectious. I loved that villain. And I thought it was a huge disappointment and letdown that they killed him. Like, just a huge disappointment, wasted opportunity. You built up this villain so well. He is the most interesting part of the movie by far. And then you have Killmonger kill him? It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, why would Killmonger want to kill him? I mean, Andy Serkis's character wants to get back at Wakanda anyway. And so does Killmonger. They have the same goal. Why does Killmonger want to kill him? It makes absolutely no sense. Obviously, this is a script issue. This is a huge inconsistency that people ignore. They say the movie's a goddamn perfect film. I looked up reviews of this movie. Everybody was loving this movie so goddamn hard when it came out. But, there's a lot of problems with it. There's a lot of inconsistent things that happen. And the movie still is, like, one of the best MCU movies. It has all these problems, but it's still one of the best MCU movies because it actually has a beginning, middle, and end. Sure, I'm not really invested in, like, the final battle in the end because, it just looks bad, These tribes are fighting. You don't really get connected to any of these tribes that are fighting. And it's just like a big, CGI fest in the end. Like most MCU movies and superhero movies in general. But I really felt no connection to any of those characters at the end. But Andy Serkis's character, I felt a connection to that character. He was really funny. He was interesting to watch. He brought life to the movie. It was just such a dumb idea to kill him. Because you really could have kept that character alive. He could have showed up in other films. I mean, like, really, he's like the best villain the MCU has had. And they just kill him off. Just a huge mistake. Really dumb of them. And they do the same thing with Killmonger, They spend the whole movie getting you invested in Killmonger's story, and then they just kill him. It's just like, really, this movie had the two best MCU villains, and they just kill them in this movie. Just a really dumb idea by them. Because they really brought the life to the movie. Like, Black Panther, dude, it's a good actor. He's a good actor. I've seen him in other films. He played Jackie Robinson, I believe. Like, he's a good actor, but his character is so uninteresting and so bland. Like, it was almost putting me to sleep when he was on camera. And I kind of wish we had more Killmonger in the movie. We had more Andy Serkis in the movie. Because the movie starts with Andy Serkis's villain, and then it switches to Killmonger. You don't really see Killmonger until, I don't know, like 30, 40 minutes of the movie. And you see him, making out with his girlfriend that he ends up shooting later. which was just odd. Like, they should have really delved into that more and made you really think that he loved his girlfriend before he shot her, and then that would have had more of an impact. But to us, like, we only see her, like, kiss this chick once, and then he kills her later, and you're like, oh, well, I barely knew her anyway, so it didn't really matter that he killed her. But, you know, what's some other characters in this movie? Black Panther's sister, who's like a fucking genius rocket scientist like type. You know, she's Q from James Bond. She has all these gadgets and stuff, and she's built all of them. Like, I really didn't buy into that. Like, how did she really... Like, how is she the smartest person in Wakanda? Like, it really didn't sell you that fact at all. But, you know, I'll go with it. Whatever. It's not really, like, that big of a deal. But what I won't really buy into is the general girl. The first general under Black Panther. She's just, like, the worst. Like, there's nothing likable about her character. There's nothing to make you think, oh, this is a character I can get behind. Or this is somebody that's I should be rooting for. You know, she's just a grouch, and she's just nasty the whole movie. And there's nothing really likable about her character. She has a boyfriend, and I actually liked him more. And he was like the leader of some rhino tribe. I didn't really understand where they were in association with Wakanda. I didn't understand where these rhino people, you know, where it was, you know? Like, the actual location. Like, it's not in the city of Wakanda. It's outside the city. So, you know, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. But, you know, we'll let it slide because it's Marvel, right? But, you know, I found him more interesting and likable than her. Even though that dude makes a decision that doesn't make any sense. Like, he totally sides with Killmonger, even though Killmonger just showed up. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would he side with Killmonger over Black Panther, like his best friend for what, you know, looks like the whole movie? Like, they're like best buds, and he just like totally sides with Killmonger over him. It didn't make a whole lot of sense at all. I didn't buy it at all, but I still liked that character. And in the final battle, like, he's fighting his girlfriend, and he goes, you would have killed someone you love, and she's like, I'll kill you for my country. Like, totally, like, nationalism, you know, Nazi shit, you know, like, like, it's just such a weird message in a movie, you know, like, nationalism and country is more important than the people you love. Like, it's just so fucking fucked up. Like, that's the message of this movie. It's so weird. Like, country identity is, like, the most important thing in this movie. It's so weird. It's really not a good message at all. But what are some other things about this movie? Oh yeah, Bilbo Baggins. He's in the movie. I really like that actor. I love that he was in this movie. I thought, you know, good on him that he gets a nice little paycheck for a role where he really does nothing. And I really thought it made no sense that he was an American CIA agent. I really thought that made absolutely no sense. They should have made him a British MI6 agent, because, first of all, the actor's British, and second of all, it would have made more sense when they start calling him a colonizer, because the British were colonizers. Americans weren't colonizers, you know what I'm saying? Americans are imperialists. They should have been calling him an imperialist, not a colonizer. Like, it's small shit like that in the movie that kind of frustrated me and made, like, absolutely no sense. Because if he was British and he had a British accent, then it would have made perfect sense that they're calling him a colonizer. Like, alright, I get it. But he's American, you know? Like, we don't colonize countries, we claim them. You know, there's a difference, you know? A small difference, but a difference. And it was just kind of odd how they were very racist towards Bilbo Baggins in this movie. I just thought that was really odd. And I was expecting, like, a big moment in the movie where, Bilbo Baggins walks into Wakanda and he's just like blown away by the technology, and he's just like, holy shit, what is this place? Like, I was expecting a scene like that, like a 5-10 minute scene where he's just like dumbfounded by everything he's seen, and you don't get that at all. Like, he literally wakes up in their science, you know, lab, and he sees the train underneath the ground, and he's just like, wow, that's more efficient than what I've seen. Like, that's his whole reaction to Wakanda. Like, that's it. Like, it's so fucking ridiculous. Like, he should have had this big moment where he's just like, what is this place? Where has this place been all my life? Like nothing. It's like he's not surprised at all. It makes no sense. Like, a lot of the movie makes no sense, guys. A lot of the movie takes liberties like that, and it feels like it's jumping around, like they cut out, like, you know, a bunch from this movie. And they probably did have a scene with Bilbo Baggins, and he's, like, discovering Wakanda, and he's amazed by, you know, what they have achieved and stuff. There probably was a scene like that, and they cut it out for time, because this movie's like a short movie. Or at least it feels short. But yeah, you know, a lot of things in this movie didn't make a whole lot of sense. I wasn't really getting connected to any of the characters, because the whole, like, nationalism thing was rubbing me the wrong way. It didn't really seem like a good message at all. Like, I don't understand what the meaning of this movie is. But, you know, let's talk about the sound design and, like, soundtrack for a minute, because apparently that stuff was Oscar-worthy, and I think it won an Oscar for, like, sound design or something along those lines. I don't remember a single track from this movie. I don't remember the score at all. I just watched it. I don't remember what the score was. I don't remember what the music was. Like, what are people talking about? It has a good soundtrack. What was Black Panther's theme? Can anybody, like, hum it? Like, can anybody remember what it was? Because I can't, and I just watched the movie. And a lot of people in reviewing this movie, they were saying, like, you know, the action scenes were incredible. And the final fight at the end is just a CG fest, like I mentioned. But the actual fight between Black Panther and Killmonger, you know, it's in this dark, you know, cave area. They're CGI the whole time, and their fight doesn't really last that long, and it's not that interesting to watch. And before you know it, Killmonger's dead. Like, it just felt so underwhelming, because, like, this fight was building up the whole movie, and then he just kills Killmonger. And, you know, after the way Killmonger kills Black Panther earlier, which I thought was the best scene in the movie, when they're fighting in the waterfall, and Killmonger just whips his ass. Like, hand to hand, Killmonger is better than Black Panther. And he whips his ass, and he throws him off the cliff, and I thought that was just epic as fuck. And I thought that was easily the best scene in the movie. And I was, like, cheering for Killmonger right there. I was like, fuck yeah, throw him off the cliff. I really liked that moment a lot. I think the movie is worth watching just to get to that moment where Killmonger beats his ass. I thought that was great. But then, you know, Black Panther comes back, and then he wins in the end. But you never see Black Panther get better, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, how does Black Panther beat him the second time around? Like, Killmonger's still a better fighter than Black Panther. He just proved that earlier. Like, you have to show Black Panther, like, training or, like, getting better or figuring out, like, how he's going to beat Killmonger. None of that is in the movie. He just goes from, you know, getting his ass kicked by Killmonger, coming back to life, and then just fighting Killmonger again and winning. There's no reasoning why Black Panther beats Killmonger. It's just cause. Like, just cause Black Panther's the hero of the movie, that's why he wins. Like, no, you gotta give us, like, something. You gotta tell us why Black Panther's better this time around. Like, how is he a better fighter than Killmonger this time around? Like, it really doesn't make sense. And people just ate up this shit, and it got nominated for an Oscar? The movie is incoherent half the time. There's no explanations for anything. It just has a beginning, middle, and end, and, you know, it's just a crowd pleaser. That's all it is. But if you really break it down, a lot of the scenes are just, like, you know, cut together without much reasoning to it. Oh, and, like, the biggest, like, what the fuck moment from this whole movie, actually, there's a couple big what the fuck moments in this movie, but the first one I noticed is that there's a clan, there's, like, a tribe that's living in the mountains, and their house symbol is a goddamn gorilla. Like, and they're howling like gorillas. You know, like, big black guys howling like gorillas in this movie. Like, how did that not offend anybody? Like, how is that not the most racist thing anyone's ever seen? Like, I was, like, blown away. Like, how the fuck did they get away with this? Like, nobody was bothered that the tribe in the mountains are fucking gorillas? You know, like, doesn't make any... It's so goddamn offensive. In a world where everybody is offended by Harambe memes, you would think something like this would get people riled up. You would think, like, people would be, like, in horror that they have big black dudes howling like gorillas. Like, you think that would be a problem, but it's not, apparently. It's Oscar-worthy, apparently. It's so fucked up, guys. It's so fucked up. But, you know, that's what happens when you put a Marvel logo on the film. People don't give a fuck anymore. They turn their brains off. And I was laughing so hard when I saw them, like, howling like gorillas. Like, I was just like, what the fuck? How did they get away with this? How does nobody mention this in any review? It was so off-putting to see. It's so fucking funny at the same time. I'm shocked that nobody really talked about it. But another big what the fuck moment, and, you know, I'll probably end the video with this last bit, but when Killmonger dies in the end, he's brought to the sunset of Wakanda, and he gets to see the sunrise or sunset. I think it's the sunset. He gets to see it, which is like something he already should have seen already, because he's lived in Wakanda for, I would think, a few weeks by now, so he's probably seen this sight already, but that's beside the point. He sees the sunset, right? His fucking final dying wish, and Black Panther's like, we can save you, you don't have to die. And he's just like, I'd rather die than be a slave. And he talks about, like, that's what his ancestors knew when they were jumping off the boats being brought to America, that it's better to die than to be a slave. And when I first heard it, I was like, I guess that makes sense. But then I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, wait a minute, Killmonger. None of your ancestors jumped off the boat. You know, because if they did jump off the boat, then they died, which makes them dead, which means they're not your ancestors. Killmonger, like, your ancestors are the ones that were slaves, the ones that didn't jump off the boat. Those are who your ancestors are. The survivors, the ones that didn't kill themselves. Every slave that jumped off the boat, that's where their family tree ended, you know? Like, like, this is such an obvious thing. And it makes what Killmonger says pointless and totally incorrect, you know? And I'm like, how did this movie win an Oscar? How does nobody, like, think? Like, all you have to do is think about it for 2 seconds. And what Killmonger says makes absolutely no sense. It's like no one bothered to give a fuck. Like, no one bothered to actually look at the movie and be like, oh yeah, this has a lot of problems. Like, you know, like, a lot of things don't make sense. Whoever wrote the script is not a good writer. You know, nobody, like, thought about this stuff. This movie just tapped into people's, like, primal emotions, you know, about race and nationalism, and then made them ignore the actual film that's in front of them. And that's why he got nominated for an Oscars and shit, because this movie kind of trapped people. It kind of, like, made it so, like, if you hate this movie, then you're a racist or something, because it's all black people in this movie. But really, when you look at the film, half the shit doesn't make any sense, you know? Like, what's said is bad writing, you know? Like, what Killmonger says in the end is just plain bad writing and not well thought out at all. You know, it doesn't make you racist for pointing that out. It's just a fact. But still, I would say Black Panther is easily, like, one of the best MCU films. But then again, that's not saying much, because I really don't like MCU. I don't like these movies. I think they're all kind of garbage. But this Black Panther movie, it's probably one of the better ones. It's probably the least smelly piece of shit movie in the MCU. I would say easily still the best MCU movie is the first Iron Man. Easily. It's still the best MCU one. The second best one's probably Avengers. And then, I don't know, maybe like Guardians of the Galaxy, because the music was good, even though the movie sucks, you know. The actual, you know, it's nice to listen to all the awesome music that's in the movie. And then it's Black Panther, you know, like, I mean, there's all the other movies are just generic movies that nobody's going to rewatch again. I'm never going to rewatch Black Panther again. I'm never going to rewatch Captain Marvel again. It's just not going to happen. Maybe I'll rewatch Black Panther again to show my friend who hasn't seen it because, he hasn't seen it either. But I just want to see, what he thinks of it. Because there's a lot of things in this movie that are very questionable. Like, I'm questioning the meaning of this movie the more I think about it. And it does not strike me the right way. It's very off-putting what the movie is. But yeah, at least it's better than the Brie Larson Captain Marvel, because that movie was just, it was boring. Like, it was just boring and totally forgettable and bland and just not interesting at all. At least Black Panther, at least it didn't put me to sleep entirely. At least it kept my attention throughout. But that was probably because I kept questioning, like, all the dialogue in the movie. I was just like, what? This movie makes no sense. Like, other than all that, it's still one of the better MCU movies. But yeah, that's it for now. Comment below. What did you think of Black Panther when you saw it? What do you think about it now? Has anybody rewatched this fucking movie? Like, I would be surprised if anybody has actually rewatched this movie past the cinemas. But yeah, my first time watching it, a year after it's come out, and oh, what do you know? It's not that good. And I probably wasted a few hours watching it, and I'll probably waste a couple more watching it with my buddy. But yeah, that's it for now. Comment below, let me know what you think, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.